Welcome to Sachs Realty's Tuesday night podcast, where we talk about anything and everything real estate. Each week, we deliver expert information enabling you to make better informed decisions while keeping more money in your pocket. If you're interested in real estate, this is your show. Hey guys, welcome to our live show. We are broadcasting live from New York City. We are at the Hilton in Midtown, and we're at a conference here, real estate conference called Inman Connect. A conference that I haven't been to since before COVID, and it's very interesting. Today was day one. We've been here for a couple of days, but today was day one with the speakers, and we're going to talk a little bit about some of the vibe that we're feeling here, what the sentiments are in the marketplace. Of course, I'm sitting here. We traveled together. Travis Spencer, a good buddy from Real Estate Mindset, and my friend Melody right here. So we came up together. We took this road trip. You guys connected with me on your long road trip. So for those that don't know who you guys are, Travis, go ahead, introduce yourself. And I know sometimes you don't remember what you do for a living,
but you may have a free home buying course.
Yes. So he's saying that, guys, because I butchered the interview that we did together. So please forgive me. But I've been a licensed realtor for, I don't even know anymore, over a decade. Licensed loan officer, predominant amount of my skills and knowledge is as a loan officer of 20 years, CE instructor, but also I've stepped into doing YouTube pretty much full time. I have my channel's name is Real Estate Mindset. Trying to help people. Right now we're on a mission, boots on the ground mission, to basically just show people what's really going on around the nation. So in a nutshell, that's who I am.
Melody.
Well, I'm just here along for the ride. No. So my background is mortgage finance. I'm kind of a housing analyst and also commercial real estate. Just kind of boots on the ground. You and I, Travis, have been going out on the road for about the same amount of time. We did this about a year ago. But we've teamed up together to really go out there and tell you guys what's happening, because I can tell you one thing for sure. It's not what you're reading about.
And mainstream media doesn't seem to be covering. I actually am seeing more and more bearish trends in the media. Charlton, one of our longtime followers and supporters, is already saying that Zillow is bumped up his estimate on his house. Of course, he says he loves Zillow, and he knows how much I love Zillow. But Melissa,
hi
tell
everyone.
Everybody who you are. If this is your first time watching, welcome to our live show.
Yes, welcome to another Tuesday night. And Melody and Travis, we got to spend some time together last week. So awesome having you guys visit us in Maryland at our office. Really, it was such a treat. And then you guys posted, Melody, you just posted on your channel, really firsthand what you saw walking around the streets of Washington, D.C., and really giving us your take on what you're seeing and what's in future for the Fed. So I'm looking forward to this fantastic show. Really interested to hear what you're hearing on the floor at the convention of Inman Connect, and what the vibe is there, and are there cheerleaders? So really looking forward to getting the whole wrap up. And again, everyone, monitoring your comments and questions. I'll be fielding them to Melody, Travis, and Todd this evening. But yeah, great to be here.
And I think Joe's going to publish the link. We may take a couple callers here too. And so if you would like to join our live stream and ask a question, or if you have something to say. Joe, I think you published it up, right? He's about to. All right. So, guys, just to give you some, what we saw today was probably about 500 agents. I'm guessing about the size of the room, maybe 500 agents. Thousands of agents pre-pandemic. The venue changed to a much smaller venue, was in a bigger hotel the last time I was here. And Brad Inman, he has been serving the housing market, real estate industry for a long time, in bringing great speakers and just the latest trends and technologies, just offering a place for agents to come, brokers to come, with breakout sessions and things like that. And he actually has done a very nice job of sort of putting this thing on However, there's certain things that are out of Brad Inman's control, and one of them is the state of the housing market. I think that has really brought this thing down, at least this year. The sentiment in the room, I mean, Travis and I were sitting side by side together, and we couldn't even believe as the speakers were kind of, well, first of all, we didn't even understand what the speakers were saying. I mean, it was especially the first ones. And then really the ones that were really trying to cheerlead and bring the vibe or the mood up in the auditorium, the conference center, right? I mean, people weren't even clapping and hardly clapping. And just, Travis, what was your experience?
You know, I expected this. I mean, it was supposed to be one of the top realtor conventions in the U.S., right? So with the way the housing market's been over the last 2 years or year, I expected it to be light, but what I didn't expect to see is really how shallow the speakers were. I felt like it was extremely weird. They were making one comment that really hit me, Todd, was and they were talking about the turbulent times right now, turbulent housing market, and this lady made a comment that the great realtors keep their head down. So overall, you know, I was personally disappointed. It was very expensive to come here. We wanted to come here to gain perspective, to face our peers. Obviously, I had the Crash brochure, so I probably shouldn't have done that. But I expected to hear their opinions, at least, about the housing market and the economy. And instead of that, guys, we sung "Happy Birthday" to someone's mother. Is that who we were singing "Happy Birthday" for?
We did.
So I'm just at all, man. It's like a ghost town in here. It didn't seem like there's any value so far. It's just day one. Hopefully there will be more value. But it was pretty bad, man. My impression is just, it appears, and I don't want to bash realtors. I don't want, but it appears it's dying. It seems like it's dying.
Amazing too. I found where it was a lot more men this year than women. So a whole lot of men. At least that's my observation. I haven't physically counted, but it seems like there's a lot more men than women. And a lot of people, we were already approached by people that were just trying to sell agents. So a lot of people that were just coming to network and sell agents their new technologies and things like that. And really what we experienced was everything is based on AI. And there's a lot of talking about AI, how artificial intelligence will basically take out the real estate agent, but they don't say that. They say that they want to help the agent understand AI to better help the consumer. And what I've been doing is interviewing people that are here as some of the speakers. I've had the pleasure to sit down 2 yesterday, 1 today, speakers at this event, and ask them some very direct questions, which I'm excited to bring you guys what they have to say. We'll be publishing those in future weeks. But anyway, Melody, while we have been here, you've been tracking some newsworthy things to talk about. A couple things happened today. So what did we see with the builder stocks today?
Well, today was pretty interesting, Todd. I mean, I've been getting a lot of hate about, why did you say the builders were going to do badly? They're at the all-time highs. And it was like today everybody woke up and said, oh, wait a minute. Margins are getting compressed. Expenses are up. Cancellations are up. Sales are down. What is going to happen next? But I think what was most interesting about what we heard today with the builders is someone coming and just saying it out loud that affordability is constrained and we will absolutely have to do price concessions, also known as price decline, if we are going to move this inventory.
The builder was saying that.
D.R. Horton said that absolutely.
D.R. Horton said we're going to drop the prices. We're going to move
Correct.
The inventory. We're going to get it
concessions.
Yeah, it's interesting.
They said it in their remarks, and that's not something we're hearing from existing home sales, right? We're not hearing that from other big builders. I'm pretty sure we're going to hear it soon, but they said it outright. So you heard two things: affordability and price reductions, and and the market 10%. I kind of feel like that's scratching the surface.
10% price reductions.
10% stock
Oh, yeah.
price
Yeah,
reduction.
yeah. Stocks went down 10%.
Yeah.
I don't know where
Correct.
they finished out, but
Yeah.
it was definitely a rough day. A lot of the conversations, as I said, was about AI, but I also had an opportunity to sit down with the vice president of operations for a very large brokerage called HomeSmart, and we sort of talked about how over the next coming years that we will probably see a lot of agents exit the business because of sales. But anyway, Travis, what are some of your concerns right now on the road, coming across the country, stopping off at all of these builder locations? What are some of the things that you're noticing that are screaming out? What are some of the markets that are really worse off than others?
Well, okay, as far as the market's worse off, and I'll let Melody answer this, but I think Raleigh was a huge wake-up call for me personally. Raleigh was like, again, I'm not trying to be a doomer, but dude, it was like Las Vegas. It seemed like a Phoenix. There was new construction everywhere, spec homes everywhere. We had the drone, and also what Melody, I'm so thankful that Melody got to come and help me through this trip. It's the expense and effort it takes is outrageous, but Melody helped me gain another perspective, which is the locals. And what was shocking that I didn't realize when I went West Coast road trip, new construction, when I went East Coast, I started to pay attention to what she was saying. And we noticed that a lot of these mega new construction clusters, which is not in every metro area, but some of these mega construction clusters have built this giant community in rural places, which absolutely destroy the locals. And I swear, and then when she mentioned the 2 lanes, so there's basically 2-lane highways into these massive construction developments, and that's really bad for the locals. So not only are the new home builders going to the rural areas, they're completely dooming them from a property tax standpoint, homeowners insurance standpoint, and also because new construction leads the housing market. When the new construction homes continue to do price drops, that's going to affect those existing communities, in my opinion, faster than if they didn't have any. Like in Washington, Washington's top heavy. Washington, D.C., I'm saying Washington, D.C. is top heavy. Obviously, unaffordability is out of control, but Washington, D.C. doesn't have these thousands and thousands of spec, and I'm talking spec homes that are basically halfway built. So, I really saw for the first time since doing these road trips, the impacts it does to the locals and how it's, kind of unfair. You got a local, rural village, town, small city, right, that has now been invaded by empty houses. So, that was one thing, but Raleigh was absolutely mind-blowing. We went to Atlanta. That was pretty mind-blowing. Charlotte, not as much. The first place that we went to, second place, Charlotte, was crazy. Washington, D.C. seemed tight. You were there. Problem with Washington, D.C., not only do they have a lack of new home construction, the new home construction that they are working on, and you saw this, Todd and Melody, those are $1 million houses. And so in Washington, D.C., when the median income is less than $100,000, how are they to afford an $800,000 house? So we have essentially hyper supply in some of these markets, and then we have just tight markets that the prices are so high, the unaffordability is crazy. So that's what I've been experiencing, and it has been it's been heavy, man. I mean, it has been heavy. I never thought about the locals. So this has been a really, it was.
Well, what are you saying about the locals?
Just how unfair.
The implications of traffic, or how?
Well, that's just one. I mean, there's so many implications. You got traffic, you got property taxes. There was REOs that we found there. If you have REOs in these new home building communities, again, those values can affect and spread onto existing homes. So, I try to put myself in their perspective. If I was a homeowner in one of these rural places, I'm minding my business. Next thing I know, there's helicopters flying in and dropping. Figuratively speaking, of course, not helicopters. Maybe that would be cool. But I mean, there's construction equipment everywhere, and imagine that you once had a peaceful life, and now you have almost a ghost town full of houses. So that kind of hit me in the face a little bit. I never really stopped to think about the impacts of the locals for these. And I'm not talking small pockets, Todd. I'm talking massive, mega new home communities.
Melissa, any questions?
We do have some questions. We got a lot of comments coming in. Let me just start with this one right here, following up with what you said about Raleigh. Raleigh, North Carolina, mega construction clusters are taking up farmland. It is now to the point around here where a 30-minute trip is now just trying to get out of your neighborhood. So case in point on what you were just saying there, Travis.
Yes. I mean, it's hard to put it into words, quite frankly.
Yeah, I
And
think
to
one
go-
of the
go ahead,
biggest
Todd.
parts that we have with the new construction, which a lot of people don't understand, is just the speculation. It starts years before you stick a shovel in the ground. So, everybody was trying to get up to the demand, to meet the demand. We had supply chain issues. It was just a mess. And of course, let's not forget, it wasn't that long ago. If you wanted to buy a new house, you had to be one of the first 4 of the month that were able to put one under contract, because the builders controlled the market so tight. And I remember, talking to a couple builders where they would say, the first person of the month on the waiting list, act now. You have to pick this lot. You have to pick your home. You have to sign a contract. The pressure was on, because the next house, for the same exact house, they were going to charge another $5,000 for. The next one was another $10,000 for. And the next one was another $15,000 for. And they would do this at the beginning of the month when they would get the permission to release to be able to sell, or be so kind to let somebody take a placement, to be, to have the opportunity to, completely bend over and, whatever, and get this price jammed down their throat. But the thing is, people were doing it because they didn't want to negotiate. We were in that crazy time that people continually think that we're going to stay in, which is the most absurd thing I've ever heard of. When we hear, and I, same thing. I talked, this real estate broker, he owns a company called Core. His video is going to come out. He's been selling New York City real estate. Great guy, by the way. I'm not bashing him. 30 years he's been selling real estate, but I just was asking, there were so many different conflicting storylines. So I would, in one side, say, is the housing market, like Barbara Corcoran said, if the mortgage interest rates drop to where there are 5 in front of them, like she said, would the prices go up 5, 10, 15, 20, 20%, like Barbara said? He said, well, I wouldn't discount what Barbara says because she knows what she's talking about. I'm going, does anybody know what they're talking about? People can't afford these houses. So then on the flip side of it, we were speaking about, I'm looking around in New York. I drive through the tunnel. We come in here. There's no traffic. Melody, you lived here, right? This place is a freaking ghost town for the better part of it. And it's a weirdest vibe here in the streets of New York City. And I would bring that up to him and say, well, do you think that the market's going to, be impacted with these vacancies, these office vacancies? And then he would say, like, yeah, the office vacancies are terrible, and these buildings are being sold in 50 cents or less on a dollar. Nobody wants this expensive office space and all this stuff. The crime levels are up. We talked to the cab driver, and he said the violent crimes are through the roof. And, so bigger issues on the horizon. But we've got to somewhere, and here's what's happening. This place right here today, what we heard were industry professionals cheerleading for a rebound, like now, in the housing market. And we're coming into a spring market, and it's just not happening.
Well, Todd, I want to say something because I was talking to Travis about this, who has never been to New York before. So it's really cool to be here with you, kind of show you things for the first time. But as we were walking through Central Park, I had to answer him honestly about, when's the last time I saw Central Park so deserted, that area? And it was September 11th. I remember my sister had flown in the day before for their honeymoon. And so the idea was we were going to go out and tour the city. Well, what happened, but because we're New Yorkers, we we're pretty strong. We got up, we watched the news for a lot of hours, and then we went out to eat, and then we actually went up to Central Park. And how deserted it was that day is what it was like yesterday. And I understand it's winter, but I lived in this city for 7 years. And when you live in this city, you can withstand just about anything. You are very strong, and you walk in the park no matter what the temperature is. And I don't understand what we saw yesterday, Todd. It freaked me out a little bit.
Yeah, definitely. Melissa?
We do have a super chat here that I would like to address. Bear with me one moment. So here we go. What affects the housing prices the most between zoning rules or construction fixed costs, rise in primary materials, salaries, and of course profits?
Thanks, Jeff, for your super chat
Yes,
there.
thank you very much.
There are a lot of soft costs that go into building a house. So I think that when you talk about the fixed costs or hard costs and then soft costs, a lot of the zoning or the regulations, that's your soft cost. That's where you need to go and hire the engineers and the attorneys and the architects and try and navigate a development through its development phase to bring it to permit. And there is a lot that is a lot of red tape and definitely adds a huge cost to the project. But they kind of go hand in hand, because a lot of the regulations that they're creating nowadays, that they're coming up with, spills over into what you need to do to actually build the house, with the energy codes, the stormwater management regulations, and where now you have to keep your stormwater management on your property. Where if you look at a lot of these older communities, they really pushed everything to the street storm drains, and then the storm drains, the infrastructure of the stormwater management would carry rainwater and things like that away. And so a lot of it now, as we've become more conscientious to runoff and things like that, and the implications of tearing ground up and grass and forest and making impervious surfaces, that's a big expense. So curb and gutters, directing water, stormwater management in the community, and keeping it, building a facility that has the filtration system of the water and keeping that water in place on the lot, probably adds the most expense to the development project. And that includes the roads, the curbs, and the gutters, and along with that too. So, and then you take that on top of the energy code. So now it's 2x6 wall exterior construction versus 2x4 construction. We're using a lot, we're making the house a lot more tighter, and now we're putting systems in to control the airflow, teaching the house how to breathe, essentially. And and a lot of there's a lot of controversy to that, and a lot of people will explain, like your skin. When you're breathing in your oxygen, you're taking it in your mouth or nose and exhaling it intentionally in the same spot. You're not breathing it through your pores. So a lot of what they want to do is they want these houses to take in fresh air and expel them, and they don't want any leaks anywhere around. And that's added a tremendous amount of cost. And then fire suppression. And I'm not saying we don't need these safety things, guys. I'm not saying that a lot of these aren't good, but when we're just continually piling it on, that's why we see these developers that are fortunate enough to spend millions of dollars up front to break ground to build new housing. That's why we see them not wanting to build small houses. They want to build big houses so that they can make a profit, which you can't blame them for that either. But a lot of it's the red tape.
Thank you for your super chat. We do have a viewer. Todd, did you want to bring in one of the guests?
Sure.
Okay, awesome. We have Groundhog hopping in.
All right. What's going on?
Hi, how are you guys doing?
Good. Where are you calling
Good,
from,
how are
buddy?
you?
Calling from East Texas, doing really good. Pretty neat to be on with you guys. I'm a big fan of all three.
Thank you.
quick question. Really wanted to get this out. So, me and my wife, my wife's a nurse. I'm a plumber. We own some acreage in Tyler, just outside of Tyler. We're actually right outside of the city limit. And so we're actually unrestricted still, which is a blessing. And we want to do a new build. Of course, we were shocked with the interest rates like everyone else was when they did the big jump there at the end of last year. And it's really had us reconsidering, one, our square footage. We were going to try for 3,000 square foot. Now our build is down to 2,200 actually with the porches. And we're still nervous. And I do think there's a lot of people in our similar position that either own some land, we're ready to build or want to build, and now have cold feet. And we're hoping, I personally don't see interest rates coming down. That's just from my own personal opinion. That's from watching Ms. DiMartino and everyone else that I follow. So we're hoping to cut the payment down with, again, that loss in square footage. So now the build cost is down, and also being conscious with materials. But I'm curious, do you guys think this is a good year to try to do a build, or should we wait for possibly a more deflationary scenario? Maybe materials come down more, or I'm stuck. Are
you renting? You're renting now?
We currently have a slide modular on the property. It's a 2020. It's almost paid off, and we put a lot down on it, and it was our starter home. We've been in it for 4 years, and boy, that $6 payment is sure looking really sweet now. When you start factoring in rates on a mortgage. But needless to say, we're ready to build. We have our finances in order. We are actually pre-qualified for a build twice over, and we've gotten cold feet. I want to see prices come down material. Again, I don't think interest rates are coming down. Do you guys think that people in my position have a good chance this year, or should we wait for a more deflationary prices to come down more, material to come down more, or should I just jump?
Well, the nice thing about building a house is that you can build the size house that you need. You can reduce the size, but you can always build onto it later on. So I think that's the nice thing about, being able to design a home. So maybe you don't build the garage. Maybe you don't, build the back bump out.
We've already nicked out, almost 1,000 square foot out of the build.
Yeah, and I'm not talking about reducing the size of your rooms. I'm talking about just deciding what you can build now and what you can add on later, keeping the same size of the room size and things like that. A 2,000 square foot house is a decent sized house. But I think that the biggest thing that you need to question is who's going to build it, because that's what a lot of people don't realize is building a house is extremely risky. Number one, the builder could go out of business and make you pay double for your house. I don't know what Texas laws are. Maybe Travis can pipe in here. But here's the thing. You've got mechanics liens that can be placed. You're a plumber. You go in, you rough in a house. You don't get paid to finish the house. What's the first thing you're going to do? You're going to go put a mechanics lien on the house, and and then that's going to be a problem for the people that are buying the house or trying to get a free lien clear in order to get a permanent mortgage on it. And now it starts the problem in the cycle. So what happens is people don't realize a builder can ruin your life. I mean, in being in that space for the better part of almost 35 years, I mean, I've seen people get divorced over building a house, just total devastation financially over building a house. So that's the bigger risk, where there is a benefit of buying an existing home or buying from a builder that will have the ability to deliver your house in 4 months. 3 months. That's the big question that you have to ask yourself. I would build a smaller footprint, keep the room sizes the way that you want them, build the fundamentals of the house, add the garage and the great room later, and try and find a decent builder. But I think, if you're ready to go.
Yeah, I'm ready to go. Brother, the thing is, I've been a loan officer for 20 years, and we look at affordability, and different people make different amounts of money. So without knowing, I guess I'll say it like this. If you're a multi-millionaire and you have money popping out of the seams at your house, do whatever you want. But if you're a normal person, like I'm a normal person, I'm going to be honest, I don't know how else to say this. I think, again, do what you want to do, but I think it's too soon. I think it's important to figure out what's going to happen. Again, I get the 1,000 square foot less. That's going to keep your price down, hopefully a better payment. But the reality is we don't know what's going to happen yet. And for me, it's really difficult to tell anyone to buy it. I'm trying to do the best I can to be balanced. But man, I've seen so much going on the road that I really can't express with words, even a drone, even a camera. So overall, man, I think that it's reckless to purchase right now if you're a normal person like me, and that, this decision is vital. I think it's too soon. I understand the desire to own a home. I want to own the home I'm living in. But man, we get paid 5% to wait. We get paid 5% to wait. So if you're apprehensive or nervous about building, I would say there's probably a reason why. So why are you nervous? Because of affordability. And you don't want to be purchasing something you can't afford.
Well, he had mentioned it a minute ago, talking about he's seen, this kind of thing, destroy a marriage because it's, me and my wife, we have stable incomes. We have 2 5-year-old children that are ours, and we need the space. We're not trying to do the McMansion thing. We're not even trying to max out what our pre-approval is for our build. I think they gave us 450, and we're trying to keep it under 300. But you're right, and that makes me nervous. That's one reason I'm nervous. Look, this is a 6 to 7 month thing before it closes out, and it's going to be weather permitting, and we're nervous. Obviously, we've got to get in an RV. We have a buyer for the modular, and he wants to buy it now, and we were going to pay cash for an RV and try to RV it through the build. All our utilities are right on site. The pad site's ready. It's a ready to build site. But again, it just seeing the state of the economy, it's definitely nerve-wracking, and me and my wife are comfortable. We can afford our little modular on our 20 acres, and we're gated, and it's a beautiful property, but we need the square footage for the kids. If it was just me and her, we wouldn't even be talking about it. But we're an 1,100 square foot single wide modular. It's a nice one. It's only 4 years old, but it's tight. It has its moments. So we're just stuck. I think there's a lot of other people in our similar position that wanted to build. I have a friend personally right up the road that has acreage. He's in the same position. He wants to build. Interest rates have him with cold feet. A lot of people are reassessing their financial situations right now and really looking at that big mortgage payment. And it's obviously for the reasons you guys talk about, it's definitely, a big step for us, but also it's uncertainty. And so,
I can't, no one of us can make you any promises whether interest rates are going to go up or come down. But I tell you what, if you look at the 50-year running average at 7.7% for a 30-year fixed rate mortgage, we're looking at some pretty decent mortgage rates right now. What we have to realize is, will we fall back into the same trap that we did before? And some people say yes, with quantitative easing and the government buying mortgage-backed securities to keep home ownership up at 67 or 70% as it starts to decline. But I don't know. I think as far as building materials, we have a whole host of problems with that. We have supply chain issues. we're not onshoring a lot of this material. A lot of our wood comes from Canada in the U.S., to build a house. And, and what we saw during the pandemic when lumber went to $1,200 a board foot from $300 a board foot, these lumber companies basically turned trucks around and flat out refused to sell it. They said, "Look, we're going to sit on our product. We're not going to take the regulations on the chin and go through all the crap that we do to produce these products and give them away. So we're going to keep the prices up." And I think that's what we've seen. They've come down a lot. But are we going to go back to the days of $1.96 2x4 by 96? I don't think so. I mean, that's just not practical. So I think you have to look in the long term. We have to know where we are right now. You have to say, look, what do I need? Not what would be nice, but what do I need and what can I build onto if the economy improves and I feel a little bit more
And I want to come in
comfortable.
on this because it was interesting what you said. And, I grew up in poverty, but I can tell you the best memories of my childhood were actually my sisters and I had to share a room. We didn't have our own bedrooms, and the things I remember are those moments when we were in those rooms together. And so what I would say is it easier to have everyone having a separate room or whatever, but easier isn't doing anyone any good right now. They actually don't know how to survive in this reality. And what we have to relearn is, number one, how to take care of ourselves, but number two, how to build relationships. And a lot of that has to do with proximity and being close. And we've had the luxury of separating ourselves, and it hasn't done anyone any good. And so I would argue that your children having to share a bedroom is probably going to make them stronger and actually understand.
Well, it's not even that they share, everyone has a room. It's just tight. And we are comfortable and we can survive. But, it's just, I watch you guys a lot, and, you see the same things that we see on the ground here, and how it's affecting just us normal people. And it's totally put home ownership almost just out of range. And we're very thankful that we have, our land is paid off. It's worth a considerable amount of money. And we're very thankful. We live cheaply. We were able, but we dream about the home, but it just seems like it's slowly slipping out of reach. And but again, is it worth, like he said, the risk of potentially my marriage or financial, sleepless nights financially, thinking about, can I pay this bigger mortgage payment and things. So I'm just a spectator. I'm just a fan. There's a lot of people in my position that I think were ready to buy, ready to build, and this has really put a reality check on the whole scene. And so I'm gonna definitely take your advice into consideration. And like I said, I'm a longtime fan of all three. So you guys definitely keep doing what you're doing.
We appreciate you, man.
Thank you
Thanks so much for calling in.
Yeah.
God bless you.
Awesome.
Amen.
Thank you so much. God bless.
Thank you. Someone just made a comment and said, you guys are depressing. This is not depressing. This is real life for so many people. I can't tell you how many calls I get into the office and emails of that exact situation. And this is people's lives that we're talking about here. This is not just, one person. I mean, and I don't think that people are really understanding that struggle that people are having. I don't think they're even cued in on what our country is like right now. And I know, Melody, you've talked about it, about you're seeing it firsthand and you have the numbers to prove it. I don't think people get it.
It's so wild to me. I think that, a lot of times mainstream media is representing about 1% of our population. and not what most people are feeling. And I mean, this absolutely has to be true, because I don't know about you guys. I just have to go to the grocery store, and and I know what's happening right now. And I have my mother, my sister, and I support her. She would not be able to support herself, and she worked her entire life as a nurse. She paid taxes. She did everything she was supposed to do, but she didn't. She worked. She didn't get anything for free, but she would be homeless right now if it wasn't for me and my sister. And what we're seeing right now is that the increases in our homeless population are actually our seniors. And a lot of them have worked their whole lives. And I think one bargain we make in this country is that if we work, we will be taken care of. And it feels like, that's slipping away.
We do have another super chat that I would like to pull up real quick here. Cov, thank you so much. You're always so consistent with your super chats. We're so grateful. The New York market is great if you have no standard of living and very happy to pay top dollar to live a lesser quality of life. The New York market is crashing on the way up. New York is falling apart in real time.
Well, I tell you what, one of the things that I noticed walking around is you smell weed on every street corner. I tell you what, I mean, walking in and out of the restaurant.
I mean, if your whole salary goes to your rent payment, you're going to need to be smoking weed to keep doing it, wouldn't you say?
I guess. But yeah, Cobb, thanks so much. We appreciate you. It's definitely, like I said, it's a different vibe here in New York.
Absolutely.
And I love the city, though. I definitely do. I still love New York City. But it's a crazy time. Anybody else want to jump in here with us tonight? You have we've got the link in the, I don't know, I guess it's in the super chat, right, or in the chat side, or what? What's it? It's pinned at the top.
It's
all right,
pinned
so
at the top.
if you guys want to jump in and ask a question, you're welcome to do so. If you're just jumping on, we're live from New York City tonight. We are at the Inman Conference, a real estate conference here, and I think we're all ready to leave.
Yeah, it hasn't even been 24 hours.
we may be back before morning.
Jeez, it's bad, man. It is bad.
You don't know, right? One of the things I'll tell you, so I just want to briefly talk about one of the, I don't know how old he is, but I want to say he's a millennial, very smart guy. I think he said he moved here from Croatia. How do you say that? Croatia, right. He is working for a company that does mapping of interiors of homes to help agents or sellers sell their homes. And one of the things that we were talking about was the fact that so many agents still don't use good technology. They use their cell phone and post terrible photos of the home. And most of the buyers are looking on sites like Zillow and Realtor.com and things like that. And they're looking while we're asleep. And they want to see the inside of the house, and they want to know how the furniture will fit and the sizes of the rooms. Nobody even measures room sizes anymore if you're looking at the listing. It's terrible. That's because the agents are very busy. They're very busy. They get a listing, and they're very busy. They don't have time to do all that stuff, a lot of them. But anyway, his company helps to map the inside with the 3D tours, and we do that at Sachs. And but anyway, my point is that I asked what I consider to be a very valid question. It took a while to kind of get the answer that I was looking for. But I said, look, how are you guys really preparing for all of these agents that are here to just be gone one day, and directly helping consumers sell their homes without agents? And at first he was like, no, we're not. No. Like, come on, man. At your age, what do you think is going to happen? And you think if somebody could use the technology to eliminate a real estate agent, would you do it?
I think
and
a
we
lot
have
of
a
people,
poll.
yeah.
We have a poll. What's the poll, Joe? We have a poll that we put it up there that said,
It's gonna be
if
90.
you're selling a house, would you use artificial intelligence or those types of programs to eliminate the agent if you could? Can you pull it back up again? What's it say? All right. 50%, 57% said yes. 25% of the real estate agents that are watching us, they said no. 18% said maybe. Anyway, just kind of curious. I don't know. I have to look at myself and say, what I utilize a service that would eliminate? Maybe. Depending on how solid it was and whether I needed the agent. And that's a terrible thing to say, really, as a real estate broker. But I am considering my cooking skills and learning how maybe I'll flip burgers or something for a living if AI takes over the real estate industry.
I'd like to see that.
You like to see me flip burgers?
I'd like to see you flip some burgers, man. Yeah, I would like to see
It'd be
it.
better than the burger that we ate today.
Big shout out to your hospitality. I knew you were a hard worker, man, but your hospitality has been
Absolutely.
overwhelming, man.
Yep.
Todd is an absolute lion.
I appreciate you. I appreciate you guys. All right, what else we got?
Yeah, I wanted to follow up with this comment right here in regards to the poll. As a seller, I use a la carte listing service. I do pay the buyer side of the commission. In 2005, we thought the internet would reduce the commission, and here we are in 2024 paying 5 and 6%. Thank you for that comment.
Well, thank you, Nicholas. We appreciate. First thing I want to say is commissions are 100% negotiable. People should know that.
Yep.
There should not be a fixed anything. Should be what you can negotiate.
We got
And
another.
make sure that you're getting what you want. That's the only thing. A lot of these a la carte, like he just mentioned, a la carte services have been in existence for many, many, many years. There's been discount brokers for many years. So there is something for everyone out there. But I think that we're going to start seeing these services pop up. And you know something else interesting about these maps? We are seeing a big uptick in people that are calling and saying, how do I get my photos offline? There's a scam out there, guys. If you don't know what it is, I'm going to tell you, or one of the scams. You buy a house, and then all of a sudden somebody, wherever they sit, maybe they're in Russia or wherever, and what happens is they list your house on a rental website, and they will take all your photos, your 3D tours, anything that they could basically pirate at that point, because it's public data once it goes out on the internet. And what they do is they actually have they will list it, and then people will pay $50, $75 for an application fee. And there are a lot of people that would they want to rent a house. So if they drop the price to $2,500 a month for a nice house, of course you're going to be like, I'll take it. I don't even need to see it. I see the pictures. It's in the, So what happens is, this has happened to one of our clients, had this happen to them, and they were mortified. And in fact, there are ways that you can take down, photos, but it's almost impossible. You have to contact the MLS and go through a whole bunch of stuff. And but what I was asking was, all these tours are out there right now, and this data is out there, so people know everything about the inside of the buyer, the new homeowner. They know their house inside and out. So there are some good and bad things that come with all of this technology.
We have another super chat here. We have, hi Todd, do you have any tips on
David?
navigating DIY permitting? Advice for the layman trying to build on their own property without hiring contractors and expensive professionals?
Yeah, so probably the best thing that any DIY contractor, or if you want to GC, your general contractor, your own property, I would find out who your local, the most popular engineer in the municipality that you're building or pulling a permit in, within, and I would ask them for their help to get you the permit, because they do it all the time, and that's something that you could very easily afford to pay if you're building a project. For instance, and just recently I submitted for a fence permit on one of my properties, and I just called the engineer that I work with, and I say, hey, look, I need a fence permit. I want to build a 7-foot fence around, this property. And he submitted the permit for me. He'll get the permit, and I can just call up for the inspection. So it's not hard to do. The difficult thing is finding subcontractors that will work for you, because you end up going to the GC anyway because you don't know how to find the plumber or the electrician or whatever, the tile layer, the drywall or the painters, it goes on and on and on. So, you can go to Home Depot, you could go to Lowe's, you could talk to people, you go to carpet stores, you can ask them for referrals, and just research the steps of the building project. If you want to send me an email, you could gladly send me an email on what project you're working on, and I could send you a little outline of the the steps and the processes that you would need to take in order to do the project yourself. It's not impossible. I mean, a lot of people do it. The big thing is you have to keep the money coming. And depending on if you're building a house and you're getting a loan, you're going to have draws. And basically, whether it's 7 or 9 draws in the schedule, you're going to finish a part, you're going to call the bank, you're going to tell them, I'm done this part, I have an inspection. They're going to want to see that. They're going to send their inspector out, the bank's person, to inspect it. It's going to cost you $100 or $150 per inspection from the bank. They'll certify that you did what you were supposed to do, and they'll release you a portion or a draw on the money to keep those contractors paid. So as long as things go smoothly, it's not that difficult.
We have Johnny Fly here. Want to bring him in?
Johnny Fly.
Sure.
Oh, man,
Absolutely.
Johnny Fly.
Travis.
Johnny, he's my soulmate. He put
Right.
me on the friend zone, though,
Right.
unfortunately. It's okay. I saw your comments, Johnny.
What's up, Johnny?
How's
Hey,
it going?
Johnny.
What's up, buddy?
Hey, so this is mostly for Todd here, but a good topic of discussion may be for these people that are looking at buying a home, talking about how to get a contract loan, a building loan for their house. I know in California and in big cities, it's a huge challenge with all the laws and regulations, but myself, I built 6 homes up on the Oregon coast. Did it off of watching YouTube videos, understood how to go to the city, asked what their permitting process was, the laws that are going to be taking place, going to the state, working through that. And I still think, for people trying to buy a house right now, yeah, to me, it's absolutely ridiculous. Travis can confirm this, but I went out and rented a house. It's a 4-bedroom house, and I'm getting it about $1,400 cheaper than what I would if I were to buy the house. So I'm saving money by renting right now. But I'm giving the market a little bit of time to see if it comes back down. And if it doesn't, my next step is to buy a lot and to build a house. And I think
And you've done it before.
Yeah, I've done it before. Had no idea what I was doing. Went up to Oregon, where my ex-girlfriend's parents live. Contacted a general contractor, talked to him a little bit, and going back to what you're talking about finding different subs to come in. He goes, hey, I got a list of guys, but what you might want to do is just drive around the neighborhood and find other houses being built. Go inside. If you find a guy painting, see how they're doing, and just talk to them. So I luckily found a general contractor that allowed me to find subs, bid the price down, and then I worked with them to say, hey, what work can I do on the house that's not permitted, that's not going to pop up in an inspection, anything like that. And he started giving me a list of things that I could do. He's like, well, you could do cabinets, countertops, flooring, hang doors, all the molding, fixtures, stuff like that. Those are things that are not permitted that you can do. And he's like, you can learn how to do it. It's pretty easy. And I'm like, cool. Can we back that out of the quote you gave me? And that helped me put in some sweat equity. And on each house, I probably had about 30% profit in each home I built.
Yeah, well, the issue with that is finding the person that's going to be willing to allow you to do the construction when they're on the hook as a builder for the builder warranty, which is a big thing, the 1-year warranty. But yeah, I mean, you certainly can do that. The other thing is that people have to understand, if you're going to build a house and you need a mortgage for it, you have to have all of your quotes in at the time that you're applying for the mortgage, because they're not going to be okay with you saying, well, I'm going to try and negotiate. I think I have a $6,000 budget for, this or that, and then I'm going to try and negotiate it down. They're going to want to know that you have a home priced out with the contractors that are licensed to do the job. And most of the mortgage companies are going to want a home improvement contractor or a builder license. They're not going to just let you self-build. So that's the biggest obstacle or hurdle to get over, is convincing a bank to give you a construction to perm loan, and for them to have confidence in you, never building a house before, that you can complete it. So it is a good idea to find a good general contractor like Johnny Fly saying, that will work with you. So they have the license, they want the work, you assure them, look, you're going to make money on this, but work with me here. And I mean, you could definitely, you could find those kinds of guys that are out there.
Well, so I can only speak for the areas that I've done this in and looked in, but even taking a day trip to an area where you're thinking about buying a home, getting in touch with a realtor, finding a lot, taking the lot and the plat map, going to the city, saying, hey, this is a lot I'm thinking about buying. What is the permitting cost? Then taking it to the state, getting state just to say what their permitting costs are going to be, and then contacting a general contractor. You can knock that out in 3 or 4 days and have a contractor.
You're going to need drawings. You're going to need an engineer. You're going to need a site map. You're going to need a scale drawing showing the setback lines and things like that. You're going to need an architectural drawing for the structure, where it's going to have all the engineering done, the trusses, the all of your beams and the things in place. I mean, you can get those online, but you are going to need those too.
But when you go to the city, you can get all the setbacks, and the CCNRs. And what I did was I drew up my own plans in a software called Punch Software. I found it online. It was $40. Then I found a architect. I forget the name of the guy
that would certify them.
Well, so I gave it to him and I said, hey, what would it take? How much would you charge me to make these plans into certified architectural drawings, right? Give me all the engineering stuff. Up on the Oregon coast, there was a small town that I was building in called Bandon, Oregon. And there was some wind shear engineering that you needed and some lag bolts in the foundation that you had to get approved. And he said, hey, I really like your drawings. This is something very different that I'm used to drawing myself. Because he had his own stuff up. He goes, if you give me the rights to your illustrations here and to your plans, I'll do it for free and I'll certify it. So I said, deal. I go, but I'm going to need this for multiple properties. Can you give me discounts when I come back for the additional properties? He goes, absolutely. So that's the way I worked out. And I saved myself, I think he normally charged for the plan $6,000. And then for each additional house, he only charged me, I think, $750, $1,000. So
that's great. Yeah, that sounds awesome. I mean, yeah. I mean, architects can hook you up with the subs too. I mean, they do know a lot of the contractors. Like I said, it's just people can do it. There are ways to work around it, but it's not. I mean, there's a lot that goes into it. I mean, so yeah.
Oh yeah, zoning, permitting. But I can confirm that Johnny is an absolute stud, despite his overwhelmingly successful trolling. I love you, Johnny, so much.
You still owe me $1, by the way.
Dude, he lost the dollar. It blew in the wind.
No, you took it back.
No, I did not. I did not take it back.
And you need to have Todd, Melody, Melissa, who else? Nobody Special Finance sign it. Michael Bordenero. You need all them to sign it and send it to me.
I'm gonna try to make it happen for you, Johnny.
Appreciate it. But yeah, Todd, just because you've done building, it might be just a nice piece of content to maybe walk through for people the steps of getting a construction loan and what the cost would be behind that and stuff. I did all my bills cash, so I really don't know the.
You didn't have to worry about the loan.
Yeah. So
it
might be worth it because you could still even if you hired a general contractor, so again, looking up into Oregon and into Idaho, so there's Adair, Highline Homes, and another custom home company that when I priced them out, I still at the end of the day had about 20% equity that I saved from building, and I could build the house that I want versus buying something pre-existing. Yeah, you have to wait the time. Luckily, we're pretty efficient. I can get a house final in about 8 to 10 months, but people have the time. They don't need to buy a house tomorrow kind of thing. Might be a way, even if the housing market does come down, you have that built-in equity where you'll be fine.
Yeah, and the big part of buying land, of course, depending on when you want to build a house, is making sure that there's no moratoriums where they're not issuing building permits in that area. Some of the reasons that they do that are school systems. If they're overcrowded, they'll put a moratorium. There can also be a lack of available hookups. So, a lot of times when people are subdividing lots, even going back years and years ago, before they put in public water and sewer lines, they didn't always put a T or some type of, access to the public water and sewer line on the property that you're buying. So just be careful if you are looking at land. Make sure that the utilities are there, because that can be very expensive. If you have to dig up the road and put in water and sewer, and just like I said, it could be a lot that the seller subdivided it and it was only one lot and now it's two, and that could be a very costly proposition. Could cost you $35,000, $75,000, $100,000 just to bring water and sewer to your property, to where the plumber would take it from there and put it inside of your new home that you're building. So just be mindful. But yeah, there are a lot of, and I appreciate it, Johnny. I mean, it's definitely something that we should definitely talk more about while we're going through a lot of these, affordability issues. Why are you laughing? Did I say something too many times? I think it was like a definitely. Is that what it was?
Big props to Johnny. I mean, think about what Johnny did on YouTube. Johnny did that on YouTube. He empowered himself on YouTube. He made a bunch of money. He's sitting on the sideline. I mean, it's hard, yeah, but it's not supposed to be easy.
I fixed a very high-tech washing machine on YouTube, from YouTube.
See?
I mean, I took this washing machine apart, and I said, there ain't no way this thing's going back together again. Right? I mean, I had all the pieces, the parts, everything laid out. Man, it worked.
But I'm also the person that always needs to know the why behind the but, so when the GC said, oh yeah, you can do cabinets, I'm like, cool. The first thing I did was drive down to Home Depot, started looking at cabinets, how to put them together and stuff like that. Went back and watched a couple of YouTube videos, and I go, there has to be a cheaper way to get cabinets. So I did some research online, and there was a website that I ordered all my cabinets from called domaincabinetdirect.com. I think that's what it was. And I saved probably 30 to 40% over the cost of buying them like from Home Depot. A flatbed shipped them from LA up to the Oregon coast, gave me directions on how to put them together, and in a weekend I had all the cabinets installed. I watched how to cut stone with a saw and put my own countertops on, sanded, polished, made it look nice. Had the plumber come in, install the sinks, do the piping, but it was backbreaking. I'll never do it again, especially at 38.
You're a beast, man. You can order cabinets. You can get, I tell you what, cabinets were like the worst thing in the world to have delivered, because when you open the boxes, there's always something broken. If you get them shipped. The nice thing about dealing with local supply companies, you can just drive it back, or hopefully the box, maybe you can fix the box. But it sounds like you're a beast, man.
Yeah, it's I take a lot of risks, and usually they work out for me outside of my ex-girlfriends. But with that though, I just want to say thank you, Travis. You still owe me $1. Melody, nice seeing you. Todd, Melissa, nice seeing you.
Good seeing you too.
Enjoy your trip,
Appreciate
and thanks for inviting me, Travis.
Hey,
Thank you.
Love you, dude.
talk to you soon, man.
I love that guy.
All right, what else we got? Man, you sure are man crushing a lot,
I mean, you know what? He's an absolute stud. I don't care who knows it. Get over it.
We do have Drew backstage, but I am going to address this super chat really quickly. In Tacoma, Washington, Citizens Initiative 1 just passed. It's now illegal to evict almost universally. Landlords have to pay to relocate tenants if rent increases in 1 month. 15 to 20 rentals have gone on the market.
Wow.
Yeah, that's crazy.
I didn't hear that, but that's wild.
Mm-hmm.
Have you heard
Can't
that?
speak to that.
No, that's bad, right?
Definitely sounds like it. How about else? We got somebody else on deck
I think we
here?
should bring
You got
in Drew in. Yep, he's backstage. We can bring
Right,
him
let's
on
bring him in.
Mm-hmm.
What's up, guys?
Hey, Drew, what's happening,
Drew,
man?
how
Where
are
are you calling
you?
from?
Calling from just outside Tampa, Florida, Clearwater,
Nice.
Florida, right near Clearwater Beach. And this is a real honor, man. Todd, you've been kind of like a mentor to me over the last 3 years. I've watched your show. It's about 2-3 years old. Am I correct there?
Yeah, probably
Yeah.
so, yeah. Already.
It's probably the most effective piece of YouTube that I've seen in the past 3 or so.
Thank you.
Thank you. Travis, I watch you too. Melissa, you do a great job. So first of all,
Thank you.
I just want to say, great work all around.
Appreciate that.
Thank
I
you.
say it, and I appreciate too, because I'm also in the media. I've been in the media for 25 years. And I've kind of ridden the same roller coaster that Travis has ridden. I bought my first home back in 2006 when I moved back here to my hometown, just outside Tampa. And I bought in 2006. You kind of know where this is going.
Top of the market.
Yeah.
Back then.
2011, Todd, I ended up doing a short sale. So I bought the place for like $225, ended up short selling it for about $90,000 in 2011. And I was so upset and so disappointed and let down that I almost thought to myself, I don't ever want to buy a house again. I don't ever want to do that again, because I just kind of felt the whole thing was just not a good system. It was a sham. Then 2019 happened, and I had a little piece of change in the bank from work that I had saved over the years, and I decided, let me jump back into saddle. So I ended up buying a beach condo, and so I moved from an apartment to a condo. But the process there, dealing with agents, I couldn't believe how agents were like trying to force me to, bite, to make that buy whenever you see something one time and the agent tells you it's going to be gone tomorrow, or, oh, it just went to this price, or I just, the pressure, I felt like, man, is this how this works? Ended up buying the condo. COVID hits in 2020. My work kind of goes flat, and I decide to get a real estate license. So now I'm an agent with Compass down here, and absolutely love the business. So over the past few years, I've taken a lot of what you guys have preached and covered, and kind of built it into my real estate, library here. And I'm getting better and better as an agent. I have a long way to go. But I did sell my condo for double what I paid in 2022, the summer of 2022. So I sold it for double the money, and then I went into an apartment and rented, and I had Travis's mindset where, let me just sit here and wait. But I got to tell you guys, when you're in your late 40s and you're living in an apartment complex and you have 22-year-old neighbors, I just got antsy, and I went out there and I bought in December of 2022. So it's been a little over a year. I'm in my home now, just outside Clearwater. And now the story turns just a little bit. Bear with me. Over the past year, I had that sense, guys, that maybe I'm buying a little high. I looked for 6 months. I ended up canceling 3 deals because I just felt the sellers weren't working with me. I was my toughest customer, Todd, my toughest customer, because at the time I had probably dealt with about a dozen different deals, transactions. And now here I am representing myself, and it was a battle. Finally got this home. I'm happy, but yeah, there's a fear. There's a sense that this bottom could drop out. What am I going to do? And I've, gotten upset at some of the shows over the past year, because sometimes I kind of feel like, that you guys are warning it's going to happen. So I just have, there was a time there where I said, I can't watch anymore because it's making me live in fear. And it's not just this show, it's Bordenero also. You know, now, naturally, I'm addicted because I know you guys got good stuff to say, but I had to kind of tone out for a while because I felt like, you know, the inevitable's coming, and it's almost like dying a slow death. So I'll let you guys respond. I know I've talked a lot.
Yeah, no, it was great. I was just making a note because I wanted to make sure that I didn't forget to talk about this one aspect. So, you know, first of all, thank you so much for coming on, and you know, what was happening back in just a couple of years ago really was probably the worst time in the world. I don't think any agent that's worth their salt in the industry would say that was a good time. It was a terrible time. It was so much pressure on buyers, and to watch them go through the pain of losing multiple offers, for giving everything that they could, giving up all of their rights, not taking their kids on home shopping tours because the kids were getting excited. They were picking bedrooms. And how do you tell a 5 and a 7-year-old that's coming through a house when you're saying that you want to put an offer in on it to not be excited about running in the room and saying, this one's mine? And I think it was just so horrible. And, you know, right there along with it was, at what point did we stop the insanity? And, you know, it just kept getting worse and worse and worse. But here's the thing that I wanted to point that I made the note about was you said that you were your toughest customer. You represented yourself. Now imagine the buyer that was stuck using an agent, and the agent was putting pressure on them, telling them they're not putting in that offer because they'll never get it, and that they're not going to waste their time, and that they're not going to, you know, and then their agent was calling up the listing agent and saying, am I wasting my time? Should I put an offer in? How many offers do you have? And you're going, should you waste your time? I mean, that's my point, is it was such an awful time that if you were a professional, you could not have been happy being honest with yourself, being happy to go through that time. And, you know, and to address the other thing that I wanted to say was, look, man, we're not trying to be, you know, I mean, I could speak for myself. And I believe with my, you know, friends here sitting at the table, they believe the same way. I don't like coming on and talking about things that are not fun to talk about, that seem like a doomer, right? And we get a lot of comments. It's not an easy place to stay within or live within. But I have to say for a fact that this is not a great time. I don't feel it's a great time. So if we don't bring awareness, at least to try and talk through some of the real things that are the real life circumstances that are happening to people right now, how they're struggling, how they can't pay their bills, how that they need to know that this is a long-term commitment buying a house. If somebody's not doing it, then what hope do we have, right? I mean, we're just going to hope that this thing works its way out, works its way through, that miraculously these people that are working every single day are going to get a 30 or 40 or 50% pay raise. I mean, so, you know, while we hear this narrative that's being pumped, I disagree with it. And that's fine. If people don't want to listen to that, I respect that. But I just can't get up every day and not, I don't want to be a part of the cheerleading that the housing market is okay, because it's not. There's a lot wrong with it right now. And, you know, affordability crisis is at the head of it. And so anyway, you guys have anything you want to add to that?
Oh, yeah, I have a lot to add to that. But, Melody?
No, go ahead.
You want me to go ahead? So, dude, thank you for that comment. I took that to heart. And I will say 100%, it really sucks to wait.
It does.
I'm 40 years old. I have 4 children. I have to constantly talk myself off a ledge. I have insecurities like I'm wasting my children's childhood. I can't play hide and seek because our rental house is too small. What really sucks more than that is losing everything and putting that burden on your family. And I'm not saying that's what you did. But it sucks to wait, and that's a fact. And the thing is, as far as the timeline has been difficult to call. The money printing, the reverse repo market, moratoriums. There's a lot that is being burned through that I didn't initially see. So, especially the bank bailout of $400 billion in March. Didn't expect the Fed to do that. They didn't do that during the GFC. I think they waited something like 28 months or 28. They waited a long time before doing the bailout. They didn't do that this time. That caught me by surprise, man, but I struggle with it. Just to be true, I struggle with it every day. And because I'm an influencer on YouTube, it weighs on my heart for the people that couldn't wait because I was wrong forecasting. You have to do everything yourself, obviously. So, man, what I did personally to give back as I'm waiting, I had to make a course. Offered it for free, teaching people how to strengthen their purchasing power, their credit, their income. Really, really important things that you probably learned as an agent. Most people that are purchasing right now are not getting their realtor license like you. A lot, I don't know what the percentage is, but you would probably know a little bit. Most of the consumers are purchasing, depending on the year, based on fear of missing out. And that's really a huge issue, especially with how overpriced things are. Now, I don't know exactly what's going to happen, but coming to New York, Washington, D.C., I'm starting to think things can get worse than the GFC. I don't know what was going to happen with bailouts. I don't know what's going to happen last year. But the thing is, man, being that you're educated, hopefully you purchased, with affordability in mind. And a realistic expectation. And that's something that I teach as well. I can't tell you what to do. Maybe your PE ratio is 2. The normal person is 10. Maybe your payment to income ratio is really low, like 10%. The normal person's 50. The thing is if you're in a situation to handle a price decline, you're going to be okay and you shouldn't worry about it. I don't want you to worry about it because you're aware. So, if it's me and I purchase and this is it, and I'll let Melody talk, I'm just going to continue to enjoy my house, man, and love it, and move on with my life and try to start my family. But I'm also going to buckle down until I know a little bit more about what's going on. But it is very difficult, man. And I really appreciate you being transparent about your purchasing journey. Obviously, it's one last thing. It's so hard, Todd, for me not to buy a house. The first house that I flipped, I was 20 years old. Shortly after that, owning other houses, foreclosure. Anyways, I had to rebuild. But brother, it is not easy to wait. And I think what I'm really trying to say is not for you necessarily, but people maybe that are watching, you got to be careful with the head games. You got to be careful with the head games. Like Melody, I was raised in poverty in a mobile home. I shared a bedroom. Best time of my life. Such fond memories.
It's hard to wait, but it's way harder to lose your family.
Not even comparable.
Right. And
that's not to you specifically,
but when that stress hits your family and you can't pay those bills and you can't pay your taxes or insurance and you feel like a failure. I mean, I'm not trying to be, facetious or light. It truly is hard to wait. But making that decision when you're not ready and the repercussions for that, for not just yourself or your spouse, but your children and the generations to come, this is no small thing.
100%.
I just want to wrap up and appreciate you guys for the time, but I will kind of finish in saying that when I decided to get my license and then kind of do this, it's the first time I've ever done anything outside of my other job. And I can't put enough value on what a good agent really means to a customer. One that's patient, doesn't put the pressure, shows them the options, empowers them, really coaches them, guides them, tries to teach them to, like this last customer that I was working with, he wanted to see houses in Orlando. I was driving to Orlando an hour and a half for the last 5 months, making sure he got his right fit. And, he also ended up canceling a few deals. He fell for the sexy house, but not the one with the good bones. He fell for all the bells and whistles, but, ones that weren't in good locations, ones that the sellers weren't legit. He was going in all the wrong directions, and I kind of had to keep him level like this. And in the end, he bought the right house, and he's a happy customer. To me, that's invaluable. And I just think hearing all the talk over the past year about we can do without agents, we can do with AI now, you know, this stuff about the commission on the buyer side. I mean, I just think it's all hogwash, man. I think a good realtor is invaluable. Todd, and I know you could probably speak to that.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's, you know, I think there are great realtors out there, and certainly, but I also think that we have a lot of cleaning house to do.
Mm-hmm.
We thank you, Drew. Appreciate you, man.
Appreciate
Thank
it.
you, Drew.
All right, keep in touch. All right.
All
That's a good
right.
question.
Yeah, great question. Who else we got? Let's
We do have Charles on deck. I'm going to pull in the super
we'll
chat.
take Charles, and looks like we have one after
Saad,
him.
I
And
think.
Joe, you can pull the link. We'll stop it at that. But yeah,
Yep, gave up owning an area I love with good career, saving money in high earning area, and will buy cash in a few years when I'm older.
excellent. Thank you so much.
Thank you very
Yeah.
much for your super chat. So we can bring in Charles.
You're still stuck on that super cash super chat. You just say them
That
both.
slipped
in that
out.
way.
That slipped out. That was not intentional.
They get her a T-shirt.
Botanical,
that says
man.
that.
That's all I. You know, same
Oh
thing.
boy.
I won't go there.
Oh boy.
That's for another day.
All right,
Oh,
let's
God.
bring in
Another day.
Charles.
Yeah, let's bring in Charles.
Charles, thanks for jumping in, man. Where are you calling from?
California.
All right.
Hey, Charles.
I figured you guys were bored. I was bored, so I'd figure I'd jump on and say hi.
All right. Hello.
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 So I just got my what was it? My tax thing, or my W-2. I made just over 100K in California, and still not able to really to buy a home without it bankrupting my bank account. Like, what was it? Like, just for the cheaper houses out here, it's like 300, 350K if I can. For 300K with current rates, it's like 2,400 a month. And I'm over here like, who's buying these $600,000, $800,000 homes in California? Like, what are you doing for work till you make that much money?
Well, they're not. Like, if you look at the National Association of Realtors breakdown of what homes are being sold year over year, all of the ones you were just mentioning under $750,000 weren't being purchased. The only things transacting were over that $750,000 mark, which says to us that it's only the top 20%, or even worse than that, top 10% that are able to even transact in the market.
Yeah. I mean, it
Yeah,
is
because-
tough because what do you do? I mean, what do you do for a living? I mean, you make great money. What is it that you do?
Trucking.
Okay. Oh, I see.
I
You got
work
your-
like 16-hour days,
Okay.
14-hour days, typically when it's high end. Right now, because of the beginning of the year, it always starts off slow because it takes some time to pay off whatever credit cards they have, just can start buying more stuff.
What's the general feel, if I may ask, amongst you truckers? I mean, what can you share with any, like, what your thoughts are
So-
with?
I mainly do like rail stuff. I go in and out of the railroads all day, and right now it's super light. It's also the time of year when it gets light because of it's just past holidays. Companies are trying to figure out what they're going to sell, what they're going to stock up on. Valentine's Day is coming up, so maybe we'll get some more loads for that kind of stuff. But like outside of that, it's always slow this time of year. But a lot of truckers in general are just having a rough time right now with the FMCSA trying to stuff more rules down everyone's throats. And right now we might start losing more truckers because they're trying to implement a rule, or they did implement it, where you can't have a blood pressure above 140 over 90. And I think that's with medication. But I mean, a lot of truckers don't take care of their health. So I don't know if they're aiming to like lower how many truckers are on the road, but it's gonna be a lot of truckers that aren't in great health that's gonna be taken off the road with that rule.
Where do
within
you
the next
truck?
2 years.
Where do you truck to? I mean, who were
So
like
Southern
the people-
California, so I don't go like past Barstow. I don't go any further south than like Temecula. I go like into LA, out of LA, and then like
Who are the
maybe
buyers?
as far east as like Indio.
Where are these goods going to, though? What stores? I mean, where?
All like states. We are doing a lot of Walmart, Amazon loads, General or Dollar General, the main like stores and stuff. And it's a lot of like California has a lot of companies that'll make stuff here and then ship it out to different states, and then they have contracts with like Costco and everything else that they send stuff to.
Yeah.
So some of my loads is local, but most of them I go to the rail with it and then take it out of the rail.
When would you say that at what point, you say you're slow now, but it's seasonal. At what point would you be able to gauge whether, it's not seasonal
March.
anymore?
Like February, March, like
Okay,
end of
so
February, beginning of March.
So we're coming into that time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right now, I looked at the road today. I was going to take a picture, and there's basically like 100 rail cars and no containers on it. And I was like, damn, that's pretty light. And then also a lot of our containers, I don't know if it's because it's seasonal, but we stack thousands of containers. So like we use like shipping containers that go on the railroads too. They go on ships and they can go on railroads, and we stack thousands of them. So
That just
part
aren't
of it's
being used.
seasonal, and
They're
then
just
the
not
other
used.
part is no, it's just sitting in the dirt.
Yeah.
So part of it's seasonal. I think part of it's also because the economy, the way it's shaping up right now.
Yeah.
GB Hunt is pretty good at forecasting what the economy is going to look like into the future. I mean, that's basically their business model. So
And what are they saying?
I don't know. They don't really tell us. I'm assuming because of how much we've stacked that the economy is probably going to be a little bit light in the first half of the year. That's my assumption. So
Yeah. Well, hey, man, we appreciate you jumping on with us.
yeah, no problem.
All right, well, God bless you, man. We hope that you get your house, that things come into play, that you're comfortable doing it. And
Not sure if I want to buy in California right now, but considering I only pay like $1,000 in rent because I rent like a bedroom and a house. So I'm just going to save money, pay off the rest of my bills.
yeah, well, good for you, man. All right,
Yeah.
we appreciate you.
Yep, you too.
Bye, Charles. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. We do
All
have
right, let's
another super chat, and then we can pull in Sod. Thoughts on CBDC push at Davos, ESG scores, and its effects on new development companies, and Fed docket number 1670. Melody, you want to take that on?
That sounds like something up in
Right up your
Melody's.
Why?
Because we don't know.
No, man.
Well, that was so serious.
That's a lot of acronyms.
I know a lot. I don't know. I think I'm gonna give a general answer. Is that I think we are in a time of change and turmoil, and there are a lot of kind of scary things out there, like CBDC and more financial repression and the government getting more involved in what we do every day. And so all I can say is I don't know what's going to happen, but I think the best that we can all do for ourselves is pay attention and watch shows like Todd's and Travis and mine, where we really try to dive into the headlines and understand what's going on outside of just these, mainstream narratives. That's the best I can do with that question.
Yeah, well, it looks like, we'll try and dive into this Fed docket 1670 actions to support interbank settlement of faster payments.
Oh, yes, this.
Can you speak to that now?
Well, I would say, why now? I mean, because it sounded like most payments settled within really, like not even a minute. So it's a fascinating why it's coming up now. It would be.
Explain that.
I can't. That's all I know, Todd.
Settlement's coming in a minute.
So basically, there was this rule proposal to, say X settlement had to come in or reporting had to come in with a certain amount of time. And then it seems like they did a study and said, yeah, that's already happening. So why do we need this requirement? And I think that's the question right now, is they're trying to implement it, but on this other side of it, people are like, well, yeah, it's already really happening. So why are we trying to catch the 16% where it's not happening? I don't know.
Is this just to produce more accurate data in a timelier fashion? Is that?
I think that's what when they realized it was already happening so quickly.
What's happening quickly?
The settlement, it was happening. The reporting, this didn't seem to be a rule like you need to put in place. Because it seemed like it was doing okay already.
Circle back around on that docket. You got us thinking there.
Well, okay.
Thank you so much for the
idea.
super chat.
None at all.
You want to touch this one?
Nope, not at all. What's going to replace the dollar? I'll say that. Right now, what's going to replace the dollar? The dollar's a huge weapon. I don't know.
Well, the dollar. I don't want to talk about that tonight. What else we have?
I think we're gonna bring in
Next.
we're gonna bring in Sod right
Let's
now.
bring him in. All right.
Yep.
Hello.
Hello.
How y'all doing?
Todd, how are you?
I'm
Good.
doing okay, thank you. Yeah, I watched all your channels, to be honest with you, one by one. I've been watching it for a while. The issue is that I don't know if you guys noticed or not, is that there's a lot of money that's being printed by the government that hasn't been in the market yet. Like I heard that about $7 trillion that is moving back and forth between bonds and cash, and this money will come back eventually into the market, and they're gonna influence pricing again once rates drop. And even though this is a nightmarish scenario, but it seems to me that prices going down, unfortunately, it's not going to happen as we want it to happen, because there's so much money outside sitting waiting to come back and buy up everything. About $6 to $7 trillion. That's from what I'm understanding. So this money is not in cash. It sits in treasuries and it sits in bonds, long-term bonds, but it will come back again as cash to buy real estate, because real estate is the best hedge so far against inflation. And this seems to be the number one choice for institutional investors who want to use that cash to buy something. Most of them anyways. And I'm sure you guys mentioned that a lot about big institutions buying up single family homes and things like that. And that's what scares me, is that the expectation of housing going down is hard this time because there's so much money outside the system.
And it's a it's a very risky time for debt-based assets, and that's the issue. I mean, if you have the cash to buy something, and you can wait it out, then you're certainly in a different position than if you have to borrow money. And I think that's what's happening. I mean, if we have to keep the system going, so we're going to inject the cash, the digital cash, by the push of a click of a mouse into a bank, and they are going to lend money off of that multiple times for the purchase of asset-based or debt-based assets like real estate. And then if you can't pay your payment, they're going to take it from you. And so it's a very risky time, I think, to be in debt to the bank.
I think he has a pretty good point as far as the feeling that people are going to rush back in the market as soon as prices go down. But I'd look at two things that are changing, which is the first thing is expectations. from various sources, and then also the liquidity that we know is still in the market. So some things that I do to kind of follow how much money is still in the market, because there is money in the market, that's for sure, is the reverse repo market. I talk about that all the time. Right now, there's 620 billion the last time I looked. You have the Treasury General account. I think there's 720 billion. So there is liquidity. He has a fair point, but I think what's happening with the QT, and we see it with the M2 money supply, is the money is getting burnt out. I don't know, what's going to happen next per se with institutional investors. I know there's laws, but we got multiple problems, I think, that are bigger. But the expectations, I think, is also important. They say that you can't have a crash if everyone knows there's going to be a crash. And so if you look statistically at the interest of, oh my gosh, is the housing market going to crash? You see, going back to the GFC, that it dies out right before the crash. The same thing, something similar is happening right now. So if there's less consumer demand for houses because people have given up hope because things are so unaffordable. I'm going to max out my debt. I'm not going to pay my school loans. I'm going to just give up hope. I'm going to give up on my credit. Then things will change. But right now, there's a lot of money that was printed and still in the system. And I think that's a primary reason why things have gone on. And I want to say so long, but it hasn't been so long.
They're going to need a lot more money.
And it has, and see,
they're going to need a lot more money.
And then you ask, is it too late? Right? I don't know.
Did we lose internet
signal
connection?
Well, there's a secondary markets. You guys mentioned a lot about the big cities in the United States, but the secondary market, which is medium-sized cities that are still in play, meaning if you go to Texas where I live, the secondary market have not gone up as much as the big cities, and that's what's going to happen in the next round, where speculators will move to secondary cities. I get monthly reports from the secondary cities that's about 100,000 in population to 200,000 in population, and their occupancy rates and their rental rate are still low compared to the big cities in Texas. And it seems to be a lot of future investments by the institutions and speculators are going to go to secondary markets. And this seems to happen already in California, but other states hasn't happened yet. So that's what I'm afraid that this crash that people wanted to happen might not happen. It will happen to the people who are trying to buy. They're going to be priced out of the markets, but the institutions, they still have a lot of cash, and they could do a lot of damage. You know what I mean? I get the occupancy rate, for example, in this medium-sized city is about 89%, which is still low, and so it makes housing affordable to buy. But the problem is that individuals like you and me don't want to go to small markets, but large institutions, they don't care because they.
Where do they start to see these multifamily rents take a nosedive in their apartment complexes that they own? Their 10 and 50,000 doors are worth 35 cents on the dollar, and they're going to have a hard time with capital calls. So I don't share the optimism with you on that one.
I'm not optimistic. No, I'm just saying this is the nightmare scenario.
You said that the secondary that they have their cash flush and ready to pounce.
Yeah, they're getting ready to come back into the market. That's what I'm trying to say. They know this. What the information you and I know, they already know. So a lot of them have reserves for this.
I think that's what they want you to think, and I don't think that's actually a reality. I mean, because there was a great article today actually in the Wall Street Journal about investors pulling back and how Q4 was actually the lowest quarter of investor activity. So I think that is the myth that people want to say, is that they're waiting on the sidelines. Whereas in reality, these deals don't make sense to them.
Consumer confidence. The stock market's so overvalued, in my opinion. I don't mess with stocks. Don't take my advice, but I can tell you one thing: when you look at what some of these, stock prices are trading to earnings. I think we could see a lot of liquidity disappear very, very, very.
And that's why they always say gradually and then suddenly.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right.
So, well, we appreciate you, man. Thanks for watching, and thanks for jumping on with us.
Yeah. Nice talking to you guys.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Yeah, have
All right, Melissa, we have any other comments? I think
We
they're
do.
getting ready to turn the lights off here at the
Yeah.
conference. Everybody's kind of sweeping up around us and wondering whether we're going to be here all night or whether they're just going to shut us down. What do you think?
I think it's
Yes.
dead here. And I don't think there's any business going on, and it is very depressing.
No
And
business
why are we
going
here?
on.
No business going on. Anyway, what else do we have, Melissa? Anything?
Yeah, we have another super chat, and we do have someone waiting backstage. So
All right. Yeah,
we have-
did we pull the link? Okay. Yeah, all right.
do you
We'll
think
we'll take
higher-
he's on there, but no more after him. So
Okay, so
right.
he'll be the final one
Yes.
for this evening. Do you think higher than normal inflation will persist for the next few years? And if so, wouldn't that be bullish for home values?
I guess they would need hyperinflation for. I mean, this is the issue, right? They would need hyperinflation for home values to make sense right now. But where will the incomes come from?
Right.
That's the issue. So we're in sort of a very precarious spot, in my opinion, because we're out of money as consumers. We're in debt, paying 25% interest rates on our credit cards, and sometimes even more, 29.99%. I mean, it's crazy. So we're seeing people now saying that they're paying down their credit card or putting money on their credit card, and next month's bill actually costs more than what it did prior to them making a payment. So they're getting eaten alive with interest charges. And so, I mean, we're priced out of the market. What will happen all of a sudden? I mean, if we have hyperinflation, we're going to see businesses going out of business.
Absolutely. And they already are,
Yeah, so I mean, we're in a tough spot. They have to drop rates. That is absolutely crushing things right now. But I don't think that's going to affect mortgage rates too much.
I mean, mortgage rates have already been affected without any changes because of the market. But I mean, the key word that Johnny's saying is a few years. It's possible that through this election year that inflation persists, but I mean, a few years of inflation, again, people can't afford it as is. So I think that's unrealistic, to think that can sustain for a few years.
All right, let's bring them in.
Yeah, let's bring him in.
How's it going?
Hello.
Hey guys.
Where you calling from?
Well, I'm actually calling from your backyard, Todd. I'm actually right now in DC.
Okay.
So first and foremost, great content, you guys. I mean, I've been watching you guys for about a little over a year, continuously. Definitely had a lot more value. I'm one of those who's been waiting on the sideline to buy a house, and part of it is because of you guys. I truly get your point, and I think because of all the information, I've been trying to develop my own thesis around this as well as to what's going to happen to predict, right? I had the question that I had for you. I know you guys are late, so I'll keep it short. The question I really had for you guys was, do you? And it's funny because Travis has in his opening song, it basically plays what the Fed chairman said. It's if you're a young person, you kind of need a reset. But do you really think that Fed is going to risk, letting any of the mortgages actually fail for existing homes? Because I live in the Northeast, I have to ask this question. Do you ever think they're going to risk failure of any of the mortgages and risk an MBS crisis like the previous one that we had?
Well, what would be what would you consider them risking the market? So what would be their behavior where they would risk the market?
No, what I mean by risking it is like if the prices do go down, right, for a while, especially for existing homes.
Would that be a result of keeping the interest rates higher for longer? Is that what you're sort of?
I don't think they can actually control that. They control the short end of the curve. They don't control the long end, right? So that's not the point. The point was that I think if there's rising unemployment without any more money printing, and if the prices of the homes actually go down in areas which have only existing homes and fewer new builds, right? Mm-hmm. And those mortgages fail, do you think the Fed can take any MBS failure, especially for the banks that they are supporting with?
Yeah, I think. I mean, this is the big question, right? I mean, it's so what. I mean, we can play it out in a couple different scenarios. Delinquencies are rising.
Yep.
We know that them dropping rates did not work in 2007. We had the big GFC. We know
Yep.
that banks are probably in a lot worse shape now than they were back then.
Mm-hmm.
We're talking about a lot of money that needs to be injected into the banking system. We have what we've really haven't experienced is the largest commercial crash in real estate that we've probably experienced post World War II.
Yep.
We have all of this inventory, office inventory, that will need to be absorbed, torn down, rebuilt, whatever. That's really going to plague a lot of the cities. And you have apartment buildings that they need the rental prices to stay at least where they are or go up even more in order for them to survive. These big operators, their costs are just going through the roof. So I don't know how much saving can be done other than damage control at this point and bailouts. So, can we let the housing market fail? I mean, not really. Not really. I mean, they're going to do something. So I think we'll go through a period of, where I don't think that we're going to be able to stop the prices from coming down. I think that eventually the baby boomers are going to be selling. We're going to see certain markets that they like to flock to stay strong because they'll downsize and move to Florida. So, they'll probably keep condo prices higher in 55 plus communities and things like that. Or we'll start seeing more consolidation of, multi-generational households, where we see, 3 generations living together again. But I don't think when the demand to buy stays low because the affordability isn't an option, the only thing that can happen if a seller must sell their property is the price to come down. That's where it gets tricky because, that's what happened in the GFC when people were looking at the house next door that sold $100,000 less than what they paid for it or owe on their mortgage. So I don't know. I don't see a good way. I don't really see a good way out. I see where we're going to have some very turbulent times ahead, and not the time to be switching jobs, in my opinion.
Oh yeah.
Do you want to go? I have something. So I think the biggest thing that the market is worried about right now are the lag effects of the quantitative tightening. Obviously, there's still quantitative tightening. It's like, oh my gosh, how long have we been doing QT? What, a year and a half? So the lag effects is probably what I'd say the biggest risk is. We don't know what's going to happen next. Not all of the interest rates have, I guess, worked its way through the entire system, even though a whole bunch of people on the bottom already feel it. You feel it yourself. That's calling because you can't buy a house. I can't buy a house. I feel it. So you have the lag effect, and then also the geopolitical stuff, oh my gosh, going around the world. You have the Chinese real estate meltdown, but then also the commercial real estate meltdown, I think, is going to be the next biggest risk in America. So lag effects, everyone's watching that. The other thing is commercial real estate. And we're all watching that, I don't want to say wanting it to break, expecting it to kind of break and fall apart because of the foundation that was laid for this massive asset bubble. The asset bubble is huge. Those are facts. PE ratio is the highest it's ever been on average. Some PE ratio, like I said, is 1. But, I think things could deflate very quickly. But the lag effects have just been really, I think that's on most people's minds right now is those lag effects. What do you think?
Okay.
Yeah, something you want to add, Melody?
No, I think you guys got it.
Yeah. I think you bring a great point. I definitely do. They can't let the whole thing crumble down at this point. I mean, it's been fueled for years and years, but I think the question is going to be how much of it can they control
Well,
and not control.
And I'll just
they'll
add one thing, probably,
push
is that,
stimulus.
yeah, so I think we are looking at the last crisis, and we don't understand that actually in this crisis, or well, this unfolding crisis that we're about to see, is that a lot of these transactions were all cash. And so in the last crisis, they were on the bank's balance sheets. And the banks had to take care of them. They had to cut the grass. They had to winterize the pipes. They had to pay, any, ordinances if there was blight on the property. But because we had so many all cash sales that I would argue are probably not all cash, they were leveraged probably through a private note sale or something like that, is that we could very quickly see issues where it's not just about, price concessions. It's about blight. It's about the fact that there are properties that are not being taken care of that very quickly degrade, the neighborhood in terms of comparables and distressed sales. And one thing that I don't think people understand is that, your servicer has to pay your taxes for you. They have to pay your insurance. Well, if there's no servicer, because that was an all cash sale, there's no one paying the taxes, and the county is going to take that back in foreclosure. But the county doesn't have this infrastructure. They don't have people that can do this at scale or understand how to do it. So it'll take some time. And every day that happens, that means more mold in the property. That means more blight. That means more issues. And so I think this crisis might be actually kind of different, and because a lot of these properties are on the banks or non-banks balance sheets, and no one's going to be taking care of them.
A lot of them were on the government's balance sheets.
They're going to be very soon.
That would be inflationary, basically. If they have to do something, it'll be more inflationary. Could still bump up the prices because we have some increase with inflation.
I mean, it will be a period before that, but I mean, if we look back in the history of time, and I mean, certainly, assets, the price, homes go up, real estate does go up through time, but that doesn't mean that we won't be through, it won't be a process getting back to, today's values. So,
right.
Yeah.
By
Well,
the
we
way,
appreciate it.
I've spent about 7 or 8 years in the city as well. In New York City, it does get really boring, and I think even before the pandemic, during this month of January, it get a little more quiet.
Well, it will be a little less boring with us tonight. How's that?
That sounds great. I hope you guys keep up the spirit.
All right.
Thank you.
Well, we appreciate
Thank
you
you.
guys. We thank you. And Melissa, any super chats you want to make sure that we...
Yeah, we did
Get
have,
in?
yes, let me touch on that really quickly. When this administration starts rolling out foreclosure prevention programs and affordable home government programs in this election year, also, Melody, please call home.
That's Julius, is it?
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
And then we have.
Sounds like a little inside
I think that's
comment
inside.
there.
Mhm. And
So
we
they
have
already
another-
well, they're already rolling out the programs. I mean, and they will continue to do so all the way through, the election year. But yeah, there will be an abundance of, programs to try to keep people out of foreclosure.
We're already doing it.
Oh, absolutely.
We've been doing it.
Yep.
3
Correct.
years of doing it.
And then, yeah.
4 years of doing
Yeah.
it. Yep. All right.
And then we had one more super chat here, set to close in the end of April. Better to lock in a rate now or gamble and lock in later in hopes the Fed starts to lower rates. Thanks.
Well, as a loan officer, that's one of the most important things you can help a client try to understand, and what that's called is pricing. It's the price of the interest rate that matters. So I could still get people 2%, but it'll cost them $100,000. So that's the price of the rate. So this is really hard because it really depends on what happens next, and it depends on what happens with the interest rates. But you can look at various things. Right now, the 10-year has been up. I watched the 10-year. I think it ended today, I think, at 4.14. So it's really hard. When I was, because he only has till April, that's the problem. I would say if it was further in the year, it would be a little bit safer to wait, a lot safer to wait, because the expectation is something's going to break by then or a recession. But the way I would play it, absent the volatility in QT, is you want to follow the patterns and swings. So you'll have a period of time where rates go up, and you'll have a period of time when rates go down. And usually, not always, depending on the volatility, you can find those patterns within 28 days to 30 days. And again, the key here is working with a loan officer that that understands the pricing changes. Like I would follow PennyMac. But another thing that's really, really important, and I really, really need people to understand, this is so important, the difference between a direct lender and a broker. I recently had a client that got a loan, and I told her to shop a broker and to shop a direct lender. And I think you had a similar situation with your people. I don't know if it was a broker, Todd, but with a direct lender, it was 6.875 was the rate. With a broker, it was 6%. So as you're waiting, depending on when the inquiry was done, you may want to go and shop your loan with another company. Again, depending on the credit score, FICO score, you don't want to just do inquiries because it will harm you. But I think that the difference of 6%, 6.875% is worth taking a shot at that.
Yeah, so I want to just address the rate lock. And I'm not a mortgage loan officer. And sometimes they don't like me very much, because when I'm helping my client navigate the buying process, I give them some really good questions to ask.
Good.
The loan officer. And one of them is, do they offer a float down?
Yeah.
Right. And so we just had a situation where one of my clients had asked their lender whether they offered a float down, and they said no, that their company doesn't do that. And they found one that does. And what that means is if the rate goes down after you lock in, that they will give you that better rate. So a lot of them will offer a one-time float down. And it was amazing, though, Travis, because I didn't know there was a whole lot of leadway between you guys and what you could actually do. And by the way, not to stir up too many juices here, but a lot of people don't realize you all make a lot of money too.
Oh, loan officers?
Yes.
About 1.5 points per transaction.
Well, look, that may be what you see in your pocket, but there's brokerage fees.
Yeah.
Look, that's not, and here's the difference. The difference is that they got to pay yours out of pocket before they can even get the house.
That's right.
So, and I'm not trying to throw stones at loan officers, but I am trying to say that your industry kind of is quiet about, the fact that you can shop and get, there's a lot of people in your industry want to say, well, everybody's prices are the same.
Yes.
And that's not true. We find that out every single day. And now all of a sudden that they realize that they could get beat on their, what they were saying. Now all of a sudden they're coming back and saying, well, we can do the same thing now.
Yeah.
We miraculously talked to our manager, and we can offer you the rate that float down. We can do this. We can do that. We can waive the points.
It's a clown show. I mean, I don't know what to say. It's a clown show. Just please, for the love of all that's holy, just shop the broker and see if you can get a better rate. As far as locking, hard to know what to do. Follow the 10-year. I was playing the patterns. They go up. Period of time, maybe you don't lock. They're going down. Period of time, maybe you lock. But regardless, shop your loan. People are shopping. They're cleaning their driveway. 5 different contractors. So please send your documents in, have a loan officer shop you. And another thing that really is a bummer, loan officers can be very dishonest and lack, skills of due diligence. So there's many reasons to shop your loan.
All right, so talk about the fact that, because a lot of people that I speak with about this, they're like, oh, I don't want to get my credit report pulled too many times.
Yes.
That's the reason why they say they don't shop loan officers, is because they're afraid that it will drop their credit score and then they won't be able to get the top rate. But there's a period of time when you're shopping where you can pull multiple hard queries and it doesn't affect their rate, right?
I've 100% heard loan officers say, don't shop if someone pulls your credit, it's going to go down and you're no longer going to qualify. There's an element of truth there, Todd. But overall, there is a grace period to shop your mortgage. The last time I looked, it was 4 weeks. Which means only the first inquiry will hurt you for mortgage. And you have 4 weeks to let people pull your credit without an additional credit score hit. But usually the loan officers are saying that, again, so that they don't get shopped. And you have a good point, actually, and this is a fact. Some of these direct lenders will make more than realtors, more. And actually, depending on how a branch is set up, double. So there are branches on a branch level, not necessarily a loan officer, they can make 6 points on a loan. So there's a massive gap in pricing, remember, between direct lender who has all these front-loaded expenses versus a broker who is just all about low rate. Less expenses, due diligence. The service is kind of maybe a little bit more crappy with the broker, but my goodness, to save, that's a lot of money to save, so just check it out.
Absolutely. All right. Any parting words, Melody?
I'm good.
You're good. You're tired. I think we all
I am
wiped
tired.
out. Guys, we love you. We appreciate you spending your Tuesday night. Melissa.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So great seeing you guys yet again. Thank you all for tuning in tonight and your comments and questions.
We appreciate you and see you next time.
We'll see you next time.